Hello everyone, my name is Jules from Resin Jules, and today in this little video I'm going to be showing you how I use this gorgeous original resin from Mouldd along with these lovely bold pigment pastes to create, wait for it, a stunning pastel resin bowl. So I'm going to go through everything with you from start to finish of making this gorgeous bowl, including mixing up these beautiful colours. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get into what you get in your 1 litre resin kit and how to prep and mix and pour. Let's go. So in your box, you will receive the 2 pairs of nitrile gloves, your information leaflet, and then you have your part A, which is the resin, and then your part B, which is the hardener. So you need to mix the 2 of these together to start the chemical reaction that will eventually set your resin. So I'm going to pop on a pair of gloves and I'll be right back. We're going to begin by warming up part A. Generally, we don't need to warm up part B at all, just as long as we warm up the part A to get it to be a thinner consistency. It will combine well with the part B, reduce bubbles and make your resin lovely and easy to work with. So I'm going to start by getting some water that I boiled about 4 minutes ago, and I'm just going to stand my resin in the hot water for about 5 minutes. So as that's warming up, we can have a little chat about the resin. So as I said earlier, this is a 1-to-1 mix ratio resin, and I will show you how to properly mix it in a minute. It's great for shallow pours up to 20 millimeters. However, if you do have a mould like this that's very shallow and thin around the edges with a big space in the middle so that your resin doesn't overheat, you can get away with a slightly deeper pour. Just make sure that you're really experienced with the resin that you're using before you attempt to do anything like that, because you don't want to have your resin exotherm. So exotherm, for those of you who are beginners, just means that the reaction within the part A and the part B goes off way too quickly, it generates way too much heat, and it effectively burns the resin, and it can burn your mould as well, so that's not ideal. This resin is fully set in 12 to 24 hours, depending on how warm your room is. If your room is colder, it's going to take longer to set. It can even take just a little bit over 24 hours if it's super cold. You do get about 45 minutes pot life with this resin, and what pot life means is just how long it'll be in the jug before it's too thick and too set to work with, and generally it's about 45 minutes. That will shorten if it's a very hot day and your room is warm, so just be mindful of your environment and trying to keep it within that 18 to 22 degrees. I found anything up to 24 degrees, it works okay, quite well. Okay, that has been in there for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to take it out, move my jug away, and dry off my bottle. The reason I'm drying it off is because resin does not react well with water, and you don't want any drips of water going into your resin as you pour it in. I have got a crusty, trusty jug for mine because my silicone jugs only go up to 500 mils, and today I do need 600. So we're doing quite a big pour, and as I said earlier, we're going to be doing the pastels. So your resin will always come sealed like this. As you warm the resin, it can get a bit of pressure behind the seal. What I like to do is cover the seal with my hand and then pop the seal open just to make sure that none shoots out. I am wearing gloves, apron and long sleeves to protect myself. You will need to work in a well-ventilated environment, and it's completely your choice if you want to wear a respirator as well. So I'm pouring in my part A until I reach the 300 ml mark. Because I want 600 mils, I'm going to do half of each. So half of 600 is 300. And then I'm going to pour in my part B until we get up to the 600 ml mark. And you want to stop pouring just before you do hit the 600 mils, because as the resin levels, it rises up a little bit and you might put too much in otherwise. That's perfect. Okay, let's mix. When mixing your resin, you're looking for 3 different stages. First of all, it's going to go streaky, like it is now. Then it's going to go cloudy, and then it's going to go clear. Mix slowly for at least 3 minutes and up to 5 or 6 minutes, depending on if you have more of volume of resin. My general rule is 200 mils is 3 minutes. Anything over that is 5 minutes. As you're mixing, make sure that you scrape down the sides and along the bottom of your jug repeatedly, just to make sure that all the resin and hardener that's clinging to the sides of your jug gets well incorporated. So I'm going to pop some music on and mix this for about 4 minutes and I'll be back. All right, I thought I'd pop in to show you quickly that it's cloudy, but starting to turn clear. Hey, I'm back. It's only been 3 minutes, but I did want to show you how lovely and clear this resin looks. Now, a lot of people would pour with it looking like this, but I want to show you why scraping down the sides is so important. So what I've done is mostly mixed through the middle, and it looks good and clear and ready to go, except when you scrape down the sides, you'll be able to see, can you see what looks like hairs? There's one right here. So that is unmixed resin, and it does love to cling to the sides of the jug. I'll show you again. Trying to make sure you can definitely see the streaks in there. So my rule is, if you've mixed for 3 minutes and you scrape the sides, or you scrape off your spatula and move the resin around a bit and you can see streaks, you need to mix for at least 1 more minute and then do the streak test again. If you still have streaks, do another minute, just making sure that you're scraping down the bottom and the sides, and then you should be good to go. Now, you may have noticed that there are a fair few bubbles in this resin. That is totally normal. You will get air into the resin as you mix, and you're working with a thick art resin. Now, the great thing about Mouldd resin is that the bubble release technology inside this resin is fantastic. You can see the bubbles rising to the top there, and it will degas itself. You'll see by the end of this video how lovely and bubble free this resin is. I'm going to help it along by popping it off to one side for 5 minutes while I get all of my colours and pots and things ready. So while I grab and open these colours, which are very well loved, we can have just a little chat about a couple of things about this resin. So you can layer this resin. I said about the 20 millimeters. You can layer. I would suggest leaving it 12 to 24 hours between each layer, or until you can tap the top of the surface of the resin and it's hard and set. So the reason that we need to wait for each layer to be set is because if you pour on top of wet layers, it's going to create too much heat within your mould and it's going to burn your resin and your mould, and that's never a good thing. So while those bubbles are degassing, let's talk about bubble management. So you can use a heat gun. You can use a battery operated or a plug-in hairdryer type heat gun, or you can use a flame heat gun. The only thing with a flame heat gun is don't ever touch the flame to your resin, because you'll burn it, and that will burn all the lovely UV stabilizers within your resin and turn your resin a yucky yellowy brown color as well. So you definitely don't want to do that. You just want to use the heat that comes off of the flame, not the flame. So just to show you, some of these bubbles have come to the surface here. Another method of popping bubbles that you can use is a fine misting of isopropyl alcohol. Just make sure that if you do use that, then you're not going anywhere near your resin with a flame, because it will become flammable. There we go, that's popped a few. So I'm going to split this off now. I want a fair bit of glittery resin. So by splitting your resin up into smaller cups, you'll get your full pot life out of your resin. So you won't be rushing around. Okay, so you can add mica powder, pigment, powder pigment, pigment pastes, glitter pastes and glitter to resin, but the rule of thumb is to never add more than 10% by weight or volume. So I'm going to add a generous scoop into here because this is 320 mils. I would say that I'm adding a garden pea size amount. And then I'm going to mix this in. So this white is going to be the base for all of my pastels. So I'm doing all of this 300 mils in white first. So I'm going to mix that in really well, again, scraping the bottom and the sides, making sure it's all completely mixed in. If you don't mix your pigment pastes in, they won't cure and you'll have sticky patches of uncured resin in your make, and nobody wants that. So I'm just going to mix this in. Okay, so that's mixed and we don't have any streaks. So it's about 300 mils of resin. So I'm going to pour about 50 mils into each cup. All right, now that they are divided up, I'm going to start by taking the teeniest amount of pigment here and going into my first cup. And this is to make the lovely pale pastel yellow. So I'm just going to put that in there and give it a good mix. So there we have a gorgeous pastel yellow. And then we're going to do yellow again, and with my lollipop stick, I'm just going to wipe it off with a wet wipe and reuse it. So I'm going to do a bit more pigment for this because it's going to be orange. But again, it's still just a teeny tiny amount, and we're definitely nowhere near our 10% rule, so we're all good with that. So I'll get that good and mixed through. Again, scraping off the stick, and then we're going to go into the red, and we're going to go in with a very light touch, and I've just coated the tip of the stick there, if you can just see. And then I'm going to mix that in, and that should create a gorgeous orange. That is the orange. Beautiful. Next, we're going to do blue. Now, this blue is extremely potent, so be very cautious with this blue. And again, I'm just coating the tip, but what I'm going to do is just wiggle it around the top here and see how dark it's getting. Like for me, once that's mixed in, that will be dark enough. So I'm going to take my stick out while the pigment is still on the tip and just wipe off that excess there. Just because it's as blue as I want it to be. And then mix it all the way through. Get a lovely dreamy pastel blue. And then we're going to make purple, so I'm going to put in a fair amount of red in here. And then we're going to add the tiniest dab of blue. That's way too much. We'll try that. Pop it in the top here. Yeah, that's going to be about right, I think. So now we're going to give this a good mix. So all those colours are mixed in together. Next, I'm going to do my red shade. So I'm going to put about that much in. It really is like not even an apple seed amount going in there, because I do want to keep these colours relatively pastel. So I'll give that a mix. Okay, and last but definitely not least, we're going to do green. Again, I want this to be really, really delicate. That is way too much. So I'm gonna wipe that off. Oh, I've got some lint. So try again. Teeny tiny little bit. Pop that around in the middle there. That's going to be perfect. So now I'm just going to mix this all the way through. All right, so now into this cup of resin, I am going to put a little bit of one of my Twinkle Tints glitter. This is because I want a gold glitz going throughout. Again, remembering the 10% rule, you don't want more than 10% in volume or weight. All right, so I've got my lovely mould, I've got my pastel colours here, and I'm going to give them a little whiff of heat just to pop any of the bubbles that have degassed to the surface. That's all it takes, is a little bit of warmth. And then, oh, the same for my glitter. And then I'm going to start pouring. So for this design, I want some of the glitter around the rim. It may not stay, but we can try. So I'm just pouring that, and then I'm leaving it around 30 seconds to settle. So now that's settled, it's about 40% up the mould, and I'm going to start pouring in my colours. So let's go with the red, just a little circle there. The orange, I do have to pour quickly. Yellow, green, some of this gorgeous blue, and some of this purpley shade. There we go. Oh, it's looking so pretty. So now I'm going to pour in more of this glittery resin. And then I'm going to pour in more of the colours. So we're going to go for the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, the blue, and the purpley shade. Not quite purple, but we get the idea. And then just to top it up, I'm going to put in a bit more of that, a little bit more of the yellow, a little bit more of the green, and all I'm doing here is just building on the colours that are already in there, so that overall the mould is a little bit more filled up. So cute. And then what I like to do is give it a good swirl. So I'm going to use my spatula that I used to mix the white. I'm going to go in the yellow first. You can go in whichever colours you want. And I'm going to swirl this around, working my way into the middle, like so. And then leave that to cure. So this is going to take 12 to 24 hours to cure, and I will be back with the demold. It has already been 24 hours. I cannot believe it. Things have been so busy around here, but our lovely bowl is definitely cured and it's looking really pretty through the mold from what I can see. So let's demold it. I may speed this bit up depending on how long it takes, but I may not. Oh, it looks like it's going to be quite an easy demold. Oh my gosh, look at these colours. Oh wow. Oh, it's lovely. Look. Oh my goodness. How unbelievably gorgeous is this? How unbelievably gorgeous is that? Love it. I am so, so happy. And the purple is purpling. I was a bit worried, but It's absolutely gorgeous. Look at the swirls inside. That is so pretty. So there we go. We mixed the pigments and we used the lovely Mouldd original resin. I am so pleased with the final product. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and I hope that you make some beautiful pastel things for yourself. If you have any questions, just let me know. And if you want me to do more videos like this, let me know as well. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye.